You're here, church planting world, hanging out, not post church plant, continuing church planter. I guess there was a season where I thought I actually had planted a church. It took a lot longer than I thought it would, where I was like, I think we did it.
What?
Yes.
7 years in, I did this?
I'm pretty sure we planted a church. But the first thing that came to mind, because I've told this story like so many times and like thought about it, is what was like, speak to me for a second, you just being like a year into this now?
We officially started in October, but the process kind of got going in like January of 25.
Yes.
Year and a half
Yes.
into it.
Okay. Speak to me really quick about that moment where you knew you were supposed to plant a church. Because I remember
You were pretty involved in that conversation.
For sure.
Yeah.
And just still though, I still don't feel like because the wrestling that goes on of like what that is and like how is it that God put that on your heart and then confirm that again?
Yeah, so the biggest thing was, frankly, a financially stress-induced spiral. It's kind of what led to this. I left another church in town and really just didn't feel like God was calling us specifically anywhere.
Yeah.
I think I had told you I was interviewing in 7 different states all across the country, the farthest being Arizona. And my wife finds this job listing online for the Wesleyan Church. And I remember she sent it to me and I said, you gotta be crazy. Like, I don't do ministry for the money, you know this, but I do need to feed my family and I haven't had a job for a while. I need a paycheck. There's one thing I know about starting a business, which is next to nothing. They're not profitable for the first multiple years. And starting a church, I don't know, we could have a congregation of 10 people for 5 years.
Sure.
In which case I can't take a salary. So anyway, in my head, I'm like, to appease my wife, I'll have a phone call. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not sold on this, but I'm not also willing to say no to what God wants to do. So I have the phone call, and the guy on the other end of the phone, he said, if you could plant a church anywhere, where would you go? Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know, man. You're hiring me.
Right.
And he said, no, let's get this straight. He said, I'm not hiring you. Nobody is hiring you. God is sending you. And if we determine that's the case, we will equip you.
Yeah.
And already I was like, I like that answer. These people seem to get it. So I said, anywhere. And on that listing, there were certain places that they were hoping people would go. Mm-hmm. Bloomington, Peoria, Orland Park. And I said, that's fine. We just want to stay in Illinois. We have family in Illinois. We have in-home nursing with our kids' medical issues. We have doctors that we trust relatively close.
Yes.
You know how Illinois Valley healthcare is.
Yeah.
And so went through that process, and he said, have you ever done urban ministry? Because those are all pretty big areas.
Yeah.
And I said, no. I told him the story of why we love Peru so much, that we have gained such good community here, not just with the church that we were a part of, but I'm the chaplain of the Peru police and fire departments. And I said, I appreciate that kind of ministry that you can have in a small town. I know right now that I could go to the police department. I have a key. I can just get in. And I can walk into the chief's office, assuming they're not busy, and have a conversation about the needs of the community. In fact, we did that, and we're actually going to be helping to sponsor an event in a couple months because of that. You can't do that in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. So, long story short, I was just explaining how much I loved Peru and the type of ministry that you can do in a small town. And he said, okay, why not just start a church in Peru then? Mm-hmm. Blew my mind. I didn't know you could do that. Well, I go downstairs and I tell my wife, and she was terrified of the thought. We had just left a church down the road. And this is the way I've explained it to some people. Imagine if you left Acts Church and started a church 6 months from now down the road. What would your people think?
For sure.
Right? As much as I love and believe in the people of the church that we left, people are people, and rumors might get started, and who knows what people are going to think. So my wife was scared of that idea. Mm-hmm. And she said, this is messy. I don't want to get into this. And we've made the decision that when it comes to large family decisions, we make them together. 100-100, not 50-50. If both of us are not 100% in, we're not in. And so we left that conversation, and 3 days later, well, my heart is burning the whole time, she comes to me and she says, so I've been praying with her tail between her legs, right? She said, ever since we left that church, we've been grieving. Why would God bring us to this place that we love so much for such a short time?
Yeah.
We've only been here for 2.5 years, if
Right.
that. But what if God didn't bring us to this place for that church? What if he brought us to, and I don't remember exactly the words that she said, but what if God used that to bring us to where we were always supposed to be?
Right.
And I later likened it to Jonah and the whale, right? And I'm not saying that church was so bad that a whale had to come and take us there, right? But what if that church was just what God used to get us to where we always needed to be so that he could do a greater work in starting this church here?
Yes.
When my
Which I've
wife...
seen so many times over the years.
Yeah.
I agree with that so much. The principle, the idea, like we think we know what the thing is, but we don't, because very often the Lord knows like the next step isn't, he can't show us all the steps.
Right.
And it's so wild how often I've seen that where it's like things are a setup where they seem like they're not, but then they're set up for what's next in God's call for your life.
And we always say like, God is not going to give you more than you can handle. And I agree with that. I think God is going to equip you to handle exactly as much as you need in the moment. But at times, there might be more than you can handle.
Yeah.
I can tell you some experiences in my life that there were things that I couldn't handle. But in the midst of all of that, he was working in the background to create something for us that we never understood. 2023, you know a bit of our story, was hell on earth for us with the family situations that we had, our son being injured, our youngest son having surgeries, and all sorts of things. What that created for us was a love for this community because we were wrapped up in such community. I always say we had to buy a chest freezer that year because of how many people gave us frozen meals.
Yeah, it's so good.
It was awesome. That allowed us to grow a love for this community that we wouldn't have had otherwise. Did God ordain my son getting injured? No.
Right.
Did he use that to grow a love for this community? Absolutely. And I think he's capitalized on that by instilling this vision in our hearts for what can be done in this community through a new church.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It really is. But I remember when my wife said, this is her prayer, we both felt in that moment that God was speaking to us through that prayer that my wife was having. I've never heard an audible voice from God. But as audibly as I can say it, it was my wife's voice speaking to me. It was God speaking through my wife. This is it. Yep. So to answer your question, when was the moment that you knew? It was that.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying, but also freeing. Because we were looking in 7 different states to go interview at all these churches, and suddenly all that's gone. We have one thing to focus on.
Yeah.
That was freeing. And, Scripture talks about the peace that surpasses understanding. We felt it in that moment. And I want to try to explain what that's like, but it surpasses understanding. I can't explain what that's like.
Yeah.
It's a fruitless endeavor. And I just wish that more people could experience it. And I can't make that happen.
Yeah.
The Spirit can.
Mine caught me so off guard. Ours was, so I had never set out to be a pastor. Still jokingly say I don't really want to be a pastor. And go into campus ministry, do 4 years of campus ministry. Loved it, like traveling all over, all this different stuff. It was such a cool opportunity. Come back to the area at the time, big into cars. So first thing I would do when I would get home is I would jump in my car and I would just go for a drive. And come back to this area after traveling for like 3 months straight, like just crazy amounts of travel. And get in my car, drive around, come over the hill from Oglesby, where you can see LaSalle in Peru, like out in front of you. And same thing, never really heard an audible voice of God, but where you hear like a clear thought in your mind that feels like almost like too clear for it to be your own.
Right.
And that was where I heard the Lord said, like, who's going to reach these people? Like, And like for real, the first thought that I had is like someone else. Someone, I don't know. Someone will. I'm really busy. I have like a long plan ahead of me. I had at least a 5-year plan of what I wanted to do with everything. An organization called Fusion that I was working with, and then the interesting part is I felt like then I heard from the Lord just saying like you know what these people need though. Like you do know what these people need. It's like, right. And it was wild because then for me, the part that I've loved so much about God is I feel like he is so faithful to not only call you to something, but then to change your heart to match your calling. And that's what he did to me. Because I never wanted to be in this area. I always wanted to leave. Like when I was planning that 5-year plan, I was going to go to Texas because we had a giant cell in Texas. We had an organization that was starting stuff in Florida. Then we had one that was out in the West Coast, and we had one that was on the East Coast. And I was like, next 5 years, I'm going to live all 5 of those locations. Just like I'm just going to see it all. Yeah, like get out of here. And then I was like, no, like the Lord pulled me back to here. But then what he did is he changed my heart to match it, where it was like over the next year, I slowly began to like fall back in love with the area that I was from, which was so weird because I always just wanted to get out of here.
I remember when I approached you about, hey, I feel like I'm called to start a church. You were the only person I knew that ever did it. And I was like, how do I do it? You were kind of taken aback by that because you're like, wait a minute. You want to be here?
Right.
I remember that so clearly because you hit the nail on the head. The majority of the people that move to this area move here for something.
Yeah.
Not just because they want to be here. And truthfully, that was us. But like you said, God changed something in our hearts for this area.
Yeah.
And I can truthfully say, like, we've never enjoyed an area that we've lived more. Now, don't get me wrong. Michigan was great. It was much more beautiful.
Yes. That's why we all travel up that way.
For
vacations.
There's actually trees to look at, or something else to look at. But yeah, God definitely did something in our hearts to grow a love for this area, and beyond the area itself, the geographical location. It was meeting people.
Yeah.
Right. It was the people of the area, and there's nothing necessarily different, distinct, unique. But there are now names.
Yeah.
And faces that I know that need Jesus. And of course, that's going to be the case everywhere.
Yep.
But God grew a burden in our hearts for that.
Yeah.
And that, or for those particular people, and for people like those particular people.
Yep.
It's fascinating how it does that.
I love that. So for us, as God confirmed that, he put on our mind angry, addicted, abandoned, average people. Like those were always the things that he pulled us towards for Acts Church, right? Obviously, like we have our core values. Our number one, average people making Jesus famous. Yeah. We just say all the time about us because it was kind of like a rejection of professional church. You know what I mean? Like just believing it truly is like it's about grassroots. It's about people, just like people interacting with people, sharing their faith with each other. Angry, addicted, abandoned comes super early in our church. We were just talking about the fact that there's tons of people who they are angry with God. They are addicts. We have a lot of addiction in our area, and a lot of people who even were at the beginning of our church, it's like every single one of us had people in our family or relationships who are like addicted. I realized like that's a real like ministry that's inside of what we do is like whether or not we run some sort of addiction ministry, but just the fact that like that's not something that you shy away from. I'm like, yeah, of course. Someone shows up and they're like, oh yeah, like I'm a drug addict. And you're like, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of them in our area. Like, oh, I have an alcohol problem. Like, yeah,
I've had a number of people approach me about the well and say, are you going to do an addiction ministry? And that's not something that's not on my heart. Don't get me wrong. Like you're saying, like I know that, I see the need, but I also know of 2 churches in town that run Celebrate Recovery. Yeah. I know of our friend Tyler who runs Illinois Valley Recovery. I know there are resources out there. So more than anything, I want to tell these people in addiction, like, yes, you need these ministries, but we aren't the answer. to this, right?
Well, we're a different part of the answer.
Sure.
Because to be honest with you, you're like, are you going to run an addiction ministry? You're like, yeah, it's a church.
Right.
A place where people find community that are not interested in just your mutual destruction, but want like your mutual like growth. And then having a place where you actually can confess. Like our church has been that for so many people where it's like, we're not AA, but in another sense we are, because they come and they have friends where they're like, dude, I fell off the wagon again. And people are like, it's okay. Like we can walk through this. And they get a lot of the same pieces of like an alcohol program like that, because they have people who have walked through. And it's crazy how we get to do that. We connect people where it's like, have you talked to this person? Because they're literally like a recovered, alcoholic from like 20 years ago. And it's like, really cool. And like, it's amazing what the church can do that. Even if you're not a technically like we're a, a rehab program in some way or another. There's so much good inside that.
Well, and the answer to the question, of course, if we want to go to the Sunday school answers, is what's the cure for addiction? It's Jesus, right?
Every time. We would always do that. You'd have this whole conversation about like the problems and the ills of society, and then you'd realize, you'd be like, what can we do? And every time we would do this when we were in college and we'd have these like late night arguments, we'd be like, you have to tell people about Jesus. Like it always circled all the way back around where you're like, dang it, it's still the same answer, isn't it? Like if people knew Jesus, it would change all of this, because they'd realize like they actually have value aside from this. Like there is actually healing inside of him, like all these different pieces. What I mean to say though is, so the angry, addicted, abandoned, people feel obviously like abandoned literally in family nature. Like we talk about that. I feel like one of our calls was always the calling of John, which was to prepare people's hearts for the wisdom, those who are rebellious, but then also fathers' hearts back to their kids. All of that to be said, what was it then when you guys started working on the well that I guess really clicked for you in regards to like your identity of like who you feel called to?
That's a great question. Yeah, that was something that I was worried about from day one. From when I felt the call to plant a church, well, that means you got to put together a vision. And if there's one thing that I know about casting vision, it's that you don't create a vision, you receive a vision. And so I was self-conscious and nervous, like, how am I going to create this compelling vision to build a church and grow a church that I'm not capable of that? That was a prayer for a good long while. And it was actually, you were a big part of that. I don't know if you remember the conversation. I went to you and I just said, how do I plant a church? All right, you've done it before. I've never done this. How do I do it? And you asked me this question, and I don't remember the exact words that you said, but it was something along the lines of, if you could preach the gospel to anybody, who would it be? And I remember thinking at the time, anybody. Like, Jesus wants all people, so, like, Sunday school answer, I win, right? And you said, no, that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is, like, Trevor, you have a specific way of doing things, a specific burden on your life, a specific personality and way of speaking that some people are going to appreciate more than others. And not only appreciate, some people are going to be drawn to that other people won't. For example, some people are going to love the well that hate Acts Church.
Sure.
And vice versa. Simply because the way that I preach and
hate
speak...
either of these churches, they're in trouble.
Is that what we believe now? Right? We are the way to heaven?
No, if they hate either of these churches, they're in trouble. That's sorry. You go ahead.
No, you're good. But simply because you have a different way of doing things and I have a different way of doing things, people are going to be drawn to you. And I remember we had coffee with a friend of ours, another pastor in town. I don't know if you remember this. He was looking at you and he's like, Cameron, you know why I respect you? Your hands. You remember this?
I think I do now that you say this, yes.
Your hands are much more... how do I put this? Mine are much softer than yours.
They're very calloused.
Calloused. You've clearly worked, you used to work on engines and whatnot. There is something about your life that speaks to the blue-collar man differently than me.
For sure.
One, I've never been that guy. My wife famously says, don't hand me tools. Don't hand my husband tools because he doesn't know what to do with them. It's true.
Jen,
it stresses me out when I have to, like... This is awful. And listen, if you don't think I'm a man anymore, that's okay. Right? Hanging a picture is the most stressful thing in the world to me.
It is kind of stressful, actually.
Because I need it to be exactly level.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly know how to do that.
Did you buy one of those laser levels yet?
Uh-huh.
You have to. I say you have to nowadays.
Yeah. But then the problem is my wife gets it out at random times, and then I go home and she's got this laser level out. She's using it wrong, and she's not even got a hammer out. She's got the tape measure smashing a nail into. Anyway, this is not why we're here.
Yes.
Anyway, I have a specific burden on my life, and so I started thinking of that question of like, who are Trevor's people?
Yeah.
And I thought about the last 10 years of ministry. And there's been a common theme in the churches that I've been in, and this is not unique to my church. This is probably all churches. This conversation I would always walk into. Do you remember when so and so used to be here? And let's say so and so is Bob. Mm-hmm. People would say, "Remember when Bob was here? Man, that was good." And they'd talk about the good old days. And my question was, "Where's Bob now? What happened to Bob?" Mm-hmm. And sometimes it was, they moved away, or some valid reason. But sometimes it was, I don't know. And I was always asking, what do you mean you don't know?
Right.
Like, we as a church are a covenanted group of people where we do this together. Mm-hmm. So if someone were to leave and you just never ask the question where'd they go, what happened? Mm-hmm. Something went wrong here. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't realize that I was doing this throughout the last 10 years, but I've made a habit of this without creating a strategy for it, where I would reach out to Bob and say, "Hey, I'm the new pastor at so-and-so church. Can we just get coffee? I just want to get to know you a little bit. And really, I want to know why you left. Not to drag you back to church. If you want to have that conversation, sure, Bob, let's talk.
Sure.
But what happened?" And what I found more often than not is some nasty stories that really kind of hurt my heart. And so when you ask that question, I just realized that over the last 10 years, I look at the churches that I've been on staff at, the people that left a burden in my heart were not the people that were still there at the church. They're well taken care of. They're under what I hope to be good preaching. They are in their Bibles. They are praying. Assuming they're doing the things that we're hoping they're doing as a part of the church, they're well taken care of. But these people that are no longer there, I just felt such a burden in that moment. And I realized, who are Trevor's people? It's those people. To answer the question, if you could preach the gospel to anybody, who would it be? It's Bob. And it's people like Bob. It was a question that I had never been asked before.
Missed the statement. Who are we here for? Bob.
We're here for Bob. The church for Bob. Yes. Let's change our name. Bob's Church. That's good.
The church of Bob. People will be so confused.
Yeah.
Like, what is this about? You're like, Bob.
Listen, you have to listen to a sermon to understand the name of the church.
I'm sure you know who Bob is. You met him. He's not here. We're looking for him.
That's good.
I like that so much, though, because that is so we had the same conversation. I remember at the time we were planning our church, I was really young, by the way. Like, obviously, dude, we planted the church when I was 23 years old. Just nuts. I had this guy who was older, who I was kind of talking to. He was a pastor, not a church planner, but he was just asking me about the church. And I remember saying to him, I think the Lord is calling us to try to think about how we reach people who are angry, addicted, and abandoned. And he goes, oh, so like a really specific focus. And I paused for a second, and I was like, I think it's bigger than you think it is.
Right. It can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah. I was like, I think, you think that, and you're like, oh, that's a really specific person. And you're like, actually, I think that story is a lot more common than you think. Yeah. I'd say the very same for the well, where you're like, hey, we really have this burden of people who maybe for a season of their life, they tasted something about faith.
Right.
And then now they've walked away. Life changed. They had a bad experience, whatever the different thing was. And then all of a sudden they find themselves at this place where they're disconnected from that.
And there are a number of reasons that can lead to that.
For sure. Yes. And you could go oh, okay, so there's this small group of people who were part of church and then left, and you're like, I think that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And actually, the crazy part is also, we got the same, so when we were younger as well too, people were like, oh, it's a young person church. And I'd be like, yes, but no. I was like, We're young, so I'm not dumb enough to realize, we will attract younger people.
Sure.
Yes. Young people will naturally attract young people because people look for people who look like them.
Right.
Everywhere you go.
People with nice strong hands go to you, and people with soft hands go to me. Right? That's what you mean by that, right?
I wasn't going there. But I remember also realizing, I was like, yes, but no, because I said, like, in the first 2 years of our church, my grandmother, who was in her 70s, came to know Christ.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that story.
And it was because the way that we taught, which was plain, simple, like not religious, like focused on Jesus, it connected with her. And even to this day, it's funny because I'll have people who are attending our church who are retirees, and they're talking to me about like their participation with X. And then I'll, like, people who don't know X will be like, well, it's a young person church. And I'm like, yeah. The thing, really what that is it's because our view of church has skewed so far to, like, it's all old people, that, like, if you just have a healthy church where, like, you have, like, no, we have from babies to adults, like, people think that it's young. But I think the same thing in regards to the well, because you're like, oh, right, like, there's a lot of people who are our age who were raised with some measure and then they walked away. Same time, there are tons of boomers. That's still their story.
I've actually been shocked recently how many people I'm being approached by who are significantly older than me, who have that story. Because in my head, like, the Bobs typically were children of maybe boomers, but they were children of people who were at the church.
Yeah.
But now that I'm meeting with people and like reaching out, trying to find these relationships with these people with these stories, I don't want to say the majority, but a lot of them are in their 50s, 60s, 70s.
Correct.
And I was not really anticipating that.
Right.
Again, I wasn't trying to create a young person church.
Right.
But when I look at our launch team, we just got to 41 earlier today. Awesome. We had 2 more just join us. 41 people on our launch team. I don't know what the average age is. It's older than me.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm thrilled with that because they always say it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Have you seen the power of God? Right? Like, have you seen what God can do when he breaks through in people's lives? You know, statistically speaking, people that come to faith earlier in life, it's much easier to bring someone to faith earlier in life.
Sure.
The fact that we are able to reach people who are further along in life is a blessing that I did not anticipate. And I'm frankly shocked by it.
It's also a huge blessing because when we planted our church with 15 college students and my mom and dad. So, like, they were the only adults in the room. It was really
23-year-old pastor, but still not an adult, right?
Seriously, yeah. It felt like it sometimes, man. Which is really, really fun. Also, really bad strategy because you lose, like, all of your launch team in the coming years because
they get married and
what
move.
our early 20-somethings, notorious for is they're like the wind. They just disappear. like every one of the girls, gets married, gets pregnant, moves away, leaves for, every one of those women on ours. Like, the handful of guys who were there, it's like job changes, different stuff, and it was like just crazy chaotic. Of those 15 people who are on our original launch team, my parents are still there. I married one, so she can't leave. And then there's
Let's hope, right?
Yes. It's true. She always gets me like, I'm done. Not with you, just with the church.
I'll still attend.
I'm not doing the church plant thing. I'll be your wife. But no, literally, my bro who was there from the very beginning, he's still there, which is fascinating. But what I mean to say is, having a little bit more, a little bit older of a launch team could be a huge blessing in regards to people who are like, oh, our business is here. This is where our life is. We actually plan to be here. We don't want to help next year. We want to help for the next 5 years.
Sure.
Where legit for us, within the first 3 years, we had multiple people who are like, yep, I'm moving, I'm done, I'm this, which is really wild to see right after that. However, it's a fascinating reality. When we were planting our church, when we were like praying about this, I got to go overseas, got to do some training for Fusion. When I was there, got to spend a bunch of time like traveling around and just like they put me up in all these different random people's houses. It was really fun.
Nice.
Of course, being a 20-something, you don't care.
When you're early 20s, that's fun.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that is my nightmare.
Yeah. But like almost all of them that I stayed with who were pastors, they were church planners. Cool. Looking back, I realized I was like, dude, God, you're so good. Like how he like set up those steps.
Could have been any pastor.
Seriously.
And the vast majority are not church planters.
No.
Yeah.
And it was like the majority of the people who I stayed with were. So I'd be like asking them questions each time and like this. And I remember like handfuls of these different conversations when I was in Loughborough. These two kids who were in college who ended up planting a church on the backside of it. I was like, what's the one thing? And they're like, plant the right seed. I was like, what does that mean?
Great parable.
Yes.
You got to tell me what you mean.
They're like, everybody is going to show up when you say you're planting a church and try to put their seeds in the ground.
Sure.
And they're like, you have to make sure you plant the right seed. And I was like, got you.
That's good.
Yes. Right. And like, I remember like going to Clive's house and Clive being like, you know, like you just have to focus first of all, like on your own faith. Like don't make it about like the church being like your fulfillment of your faith. Like first focus on your own faith and then let that be like the outflow of it. Right. But then the last one was Scott, I asked him, I remember Scott said, the people you plant the church with are scaffolding that foundation. And I firmly rejected it.
These are my bros.
I was like, no, these people are the foundation. And he said, I've planted like 2 churches. I've known multiple other church planters. And he goes, you will be surprised when you get 5 to 10 years into it. He said, the people who are the foundation then, he said, were the people who showed up after you planted the church, not before. Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And then it became true. It's intriguing to think now as you're pushing through this, you're a year and a half into that. Do you feel the same way as I did? Like, no. Or is the wisdom stronger than either of our desires?
Well, you gave me that advice early on too. And I remember thinking that I didn't know what to do with that information because at that time we weren't even close to building a launch team, anything like that. Now I'm beginning to appoint leaders into various ministries and beginning to form that leadership structure. I want to take the wise advice and say, I see that and agree with it. But at the same time, that's terrifying that I don't know who's going to be an integral part of this in 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
I've got these leaders that I trust and am working with right now. I don't like doing things for short times. Like I want to invest in this relationship for a long time so that we can grow together.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. I don't like that thought. So I don't know if I guess
maybe it is still the same thing. Every church planter's like, no, that's not going to be me.
I hope it's not going to be me, but I don't
want it to be me. So maybe that's the case. Maybe the reality is like none of us want that to be the case.
But I do think it's interesting because you and I have gone through this process of planting a church in very different ways.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I don't know if I've ever really asked you, like, what was the process like for you? Because you were one of the first people to tell me, before I ever went to our denomination and was like really trained in how to do this, you were one of the first people to tell me that this process takes time. Because I remember when I first thought about planting a church, I was like, great, I'll start preaching in my backyard tomorrow. And that's not a great idea. You were the first person to say, when we started Acts, we started telling people that we weren't going to meet for a year.
Yep.
What was that process like? Like, what happened in that year? And not only that, but like, I guess I've asked the question 4 different ways, but like, what is the how to the what of planting the church? Because you and I are doing this very differently. And it's fascinating. Clearly, something worked.
Yeah. Ours was intriguing because we left a church that was denominationally driven. And we didn't want to plant that denomination's church.
Sure.
We specifically felt like we wanted to just plant a non-denominational church that was just for this area and everything that had to do with that. At the same time, too.
When you say we, who's we? You said
15,
we left.
The 15 people.
So that 15 people was all part of that church?
Yeah, they were all connected in some way or another.
Okay.
Specifically, though, to be honest with you, so The reason why it's kind of like we as well is when I was at that church for those 4 years when I did campus ministry, I became the person who led a campus ministry at that church as well too.
Okay.
Because I started one on campus, I said like, I'd actually like to do one that was just like off campus that we could do like a gathering as well. And that church was like, well, you can use our facility and you can do it here. So the 15 people that went with me were all part of that campus ministry. Now, the part that's kind of like weird with that is, to be honest with you, like, it would be the question of, were they at the campus ministry because of the church, or were they at the church because of the campus ministry? And a lot of them are people we had like seen come to faith and all that. So it was
either way, people that you had relationships with that were somehow affiliated with this church.
Yeah, and then like
this campus
there
ministry.
was actually a couple of them that were connected to some other churches as well too. But like when we talked, I mean, like as like the 15 people, none of us really wanted to plant that denominational church, like our launch team, when we talked about it and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm glad, because it wasn't what was in my heart either. Like I thought, I mean, as far as like when you talk about like the team, but also like if you're the leader, you're the leader. And I was like, I don't really want to. I want to just plant a church for this area, and I want to work with every denomination. Like to me, I was like, that's the beautiful part of the kingdom. I was like, it's not about being like a part of a certain team. So we didn't have the backing of any like denomination or organization as well. I wasn't even a pastor. Like I don't have any credentials. So I don't have that going as well. It was just so like this grassroots, and the Lord confirmed so much. If it wasn't for some of the supernatural stuff he did, I don't think I would have done it, because it was too hard, and it was too like insane to think about doing. But I mean, that's like when I prayed through this, and I remember I went to England and I was doing that. I had a woman pray over me that she literally prayed back the words that I had prayed to God 2 months earlier in prayer about this church. I had never met this woman. Her name was Tamsin Carter at Chichester in Revelation Church. And after the worship service, she came up to me and said, I want to pray for you. And she prayed for me. And I told her that, I said, I think I'm supposed to plant a church. She prayed for this church, and she literally prayed back the same words that I'd prayed to God 2 months earlier. Wow. And it was like,
if that's not confirmation of something, I don't know what is.
No, I remember I come home and I told my mom and dad, I said, I'm pretty sure I have to plant this church. Like that it's not a question anymore. Like I think I have to do it, because I asked the Lord, and he's been so clear that I'm pretty sure like I would get smoted if I did, because like it was so clear. So for us, it was like, totally like grassroots in regards to like, how are we going to do this? But we also didn't want there to be this feeling of like, we were trying to like go and start like another church to like take people away from this church that we were at. Like that was not our.
And that has been a huge kind of fear of mine, that perception would be there.
Totally. Yeah. Like we even had people, because like I left my position, like other people who were connected to the ministry. My mom was on like where she worked part-time for them as well too. Like she left her position, all this. And we had people who literally reached out and they're like, when are you guys starting? We're like, it's not how it's happening.
Yeah.
So for us, we really did go into like a season of trying to like first understand, like it went through a few different categories. We ended up stepping out of those spots, and we started talking about like vision and like who we wanted to be in all these pieces. And then we decided that we were going to try to like learn and grow. We went through our first Alpha course together, and we like leaned into that and like talked about the Alpha course like vibe, and it really synced up with us. We were like, this is like our DNA, because like so much of Acts and the Alpha course were like really, really similar in culture. And then we decided like we're going to go and we're going to learn about this area. So we like literally went and we visited like every area church we could, like sent multiple teams together to like go and see like who is in church, who isn't in church, like what are the churches like what, like what do we think, like, wow, this is powerful, or where are these things? Because so many of us, we still had a very narrow, we'd been to like 2 churches in the area our entire life.
So you're trying to learn like of the churches in the Illinois Valley area, what types of music are represented? How do people pray in these churches? what styles of preaching are there? Like that kind of thing. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, like on the scale of fundamental to like charismatic, like
So also theological belief.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, and then like just also then the culture within them of like what kind of people attend them. Are they old churches? Are they young churches? Are they white churches? Are they multicultural churches? Like all these different pieces. Are they outward focused? Are they inward focused? Like in regards to those. So we would send 2 different teams to every single church. Then we get together. We would talk. We would go through different details about like who was there, who wasn't there. Like was the gospel presented clearly? Like all these different pieces. And that helped us understand a little bit more of like who was in church and who wasn't. We even canvassed the area. We went across all of LaSalle because when we started, we specifically felt pulled to LaSalle. And we asked people like, do you attend a church? Yes. Awesome. If not, why not? And we actually canvassed and took
Like
notes.
Door to door kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Literally went door to door and knocked. It was so much fun. Got into arguments.
Do you mean that seriously?
It was actually. No, I did actually really enjoy it. Like,
did you wear a suit?
No. Could I not do? That would have been terrific. It'd be like pitch, like it's like a bait and switch, right? Like, actually, I'm not here to tell you about the. It's like, yeah, that's so good. But we did all that, and then it was interesting because as we were meeting all those churches, we then met a church that was in Princeton, and asked them like, "Hey, I'd love to connect with this." Crazy. Go to this pastor and said like, "We'd love to meet with you." Like, this. So she sets a meeting with me. Sits down with me. She says, "I don't have anything to give you." I was like, "Okay." She's like, "But you're supposed to come and help me." I was like, "What?" She said, "My worship pastor just left. The entire worship team is falling apart. It's dying." And she said, "I think your church is supposed to come here and help save our church. Like you're supposed to come.
Stop planting your church and come help me."
Not stop planting,
okay,
but that this was like part of the journey.
Okay, interesting.
Which is really wild. And I was like, really?
I don't know what I'd do if someone came to me and said that.
We did it.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, we did it. We went there for
like your team just started attending that church.
For like almost 3 months.
Cool.
Yeah, went and like helped work through these issues with like the worship team. Like took our church and like we sent our team of 15 people and told them like, you're going to sit all over in the congregation, like, get to know people, like go through all this. I got to teach on some weekends. And we spent like that 3 months in that. The Lord did miracles in regards to their worship team, like literally miracles, crazy stuff. And then we ended up doing that all the way through Easter. And then, past Easter. And then they ended up like praying over us, blessing us, and then like releasing us. And it was neat because it was like the Lord giving us something that we didn't have from like our previous church as well too.
The blessing.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. So we ended up doing that, then really leaned in to like community events, like things that we could do in the community that we could try to just connect with people. We did 5 events in 5 days, which is wild. Punk rock show for kids, or for teenagers, kids, art day, like in the community. We did apps at local pubs where we just went and like hung out with people. It was so cool, like back to back to back, all these different things.
And what was the hope of those events?
Just conversations with people in the community.
Okay.
Like that was it. Just to talk to them about the fact that we're like planning this church and like we serve this
community outreach to tell people that you exist.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah,
cool.
Basically.
And to share the why.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've had some people comment on some stuff on social media as well as people tell me, we don't need another church here.
Right.
Like, well, once you hear why, that changes everything.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Well, it's so fascinating because people always say that stuff, but like, we don't need another church. But I always go back on that, which is, it's so wrong because our church right now is 600 people on the weekend, okay? If all 600 of those people were amazing at sharing their faith, they might share their faith in this next year with 4 or 5 people.
Sure.
Realistically?
Yeah. To do it faithfully.
Sure. Like someone you're working on a relationship with, you kind of get to share. Maybe you get to pray with somebody. It's still like, the reality is like, it's not a lot of people.
Right.
So you take and you do that math and you're like, so like best case scenario, we maybe get to like share our faith in a positive way with like 3,000 people in this next year. Now, of the 3,000 people, the majority are not going to come to faith.
Right.
They're only going to hear that news. People have
And a
different
seed is
opinions
planted,
on
and
this.
good things happen.
Sure. A lot of people say it 7 times. That's the most
Sure.
common thing people will say is that you need to hear the gospel presented at least 7 times to be able to understand it. I don't know if that's exactly right, but I've heard that number said. So you think like even that, like, okay, so like you accomplish those. You're like, well, right. So then still, just LaSalle, Peru, Oglesby, Spring Valley, and Utica's 35,000 people.
Yeah, I did some demographic research as we were getting started.
Right.
And a 30-minute driving range of my house in Peru, there's 80,000 people.
Correct. So just for reference, if Acts was, people who have different opinions, okay, a healthy church of 600 people that was actively sharing their faith, then that would mean by that math, we would need 20 more of those in our community.
20 more churches like that.
Yeah, same size.
Just to fit those people on a Sunday morning.
Faithfully, no, I mean,
okay.
just to faithfully evangelize the community.
Oh, sure.
Not even to fit, but I just mean, no, just like we could reach maybe 3,000. You're like, well, it's like 80,000 people. Right, so you're like...
Do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need like 20 of those churches.
Well, and this is something that you brought up as well forever ago. That's where I was headed. Do the math on those 80,000 people. Let's assume best case scenario, all of them love Jesus with everything in them and want to come to church on Sunday. We are woefully unprepared.
Then we would need 160 Acts churches.
Right, just to seat all those people
Correct.
on a Sunday morning. Now, we can have standing room churches, sure, I guess, but like, we're nowhere close.
No.
And I had a friend of mine push back on me. He's like, do we really need another church? And when I explained that, like, the average church in our area can probably seat somewhere between 50 and 150 people. The average church in our area has 1 service. I don't know exactly how many churches there are. I've got the number somewhere, but I don't know. We're probably looking at, on a Sunday morning, 3,000 seats.
Right.
We're not ready.
Yeah.
Right, for all these people to come.
Yep.
Yeah.
It goes back to, though, like that's one of my gripes where I get angry at pastors because I think I've told you, I have a fear that a lot more pastors than we expect don't actually believe the gospel works.
That'll preach.
Yeah. So
Explain it more.
the reason why they'll say, like, why would we need another church is because they think all of the people in church are all the people who can be in church.
Right. If we actually believed what we preach, that we need to go to the nations and compel these people to come. I told you the other day that I believe I picked the passage for our first sermon, and it's the spoiler alert. The parable of the great banquet says, "Go and compel all the outcasts to come."
Yeah.
The word "all" is really important. If you do the research on the Greek and the Hebrew of the word "all," do you know what it means? All.
Yeah.
It means all. It just means go get everybody. Go get every single one of them.
Yeah.
And my favorite detail of that entire story is at the end of the day, there's more room at the table.
Yeah.
The problem right now is in our churches. That's not the case.
Yeah.
So until it is the case, we have work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it. The fear of, like, we don't need another church is because you think what we're doing is we're dividing up the people who are Christians.
Right.
That's not what we're doing.
No.
We're reaching people with the gospel. And yeah, my goal is not, when we planted our church over the years, I always told people, like, my least favorite thing in the world is meeting people who are like, we used to go to this church, now we're going to your church. I'm like, cool. It's like, yeah, like, I'm glad. But the only reason, like, why I don't, like, you actually get, like, annoyed with that is because your hope is, you're like, I hope you find a community where then you get encouraged and excited in, like, your mission.
Yeah.
Because that's where, like, the one part that I think we have done a decent job, and I do believe that the Well is going to do a decent job as well. And I just mean decent because we all fall short of this.
Sure.
But is just perpetually not letting us get to the place of thinking that, like, church is just a place to serve us.
Right.
That we're actually called to be part of this.
Before forming this vision for the de-churched, I had some ideas in my head of, like, what can be our thing. And one of those big things that I kept coming back to was I want to fight against consumerism in the church.
Yeah.
And this is definitely still a part of my heartbeat. I still very much care about this, but if we have reduced church to be a Christian content machine where we go and which church has the best coffee, which church has the best preacher, which church has the best music.
We have the best coffee, by the way.
Well, some would say that's true. My problem is I need my coffee to taste like a donut.
That doesn't.
So I don't care what the coffee tastes like. I care what the creamer tastes like.
That's not why we did it, but we just do really love coffee.
Right.
Oh man, our church loves coffee. Goodness gracious.
Yes. So I one of the things that's always in my head is whenever someone comes to me asking that question of, hey, we attend this church and we're looking for a new church, my question is why, first off.
Sure.
But my recommendation to them is to find whichever church is going to allow you to connect the most with the mission of God.
Yes.
And I don't just mean connect like in this metaphysical way where you just feel good about it.
Right.
I mean to literally get your hands dirty and go do the work of God.
Yes.
If there are churches that are simply allowing you to come and spectate, that's not necessarily wrong. It's just the front door.
Yeah.
To move along in your faith, you must find a church that's willing to tell you that that's not enough.
Right.
That you need to go and get your hands dirty. And so my recommendation to people who are looking to move churches is find the church that allows you and empowers you, equips you, I guess is the biblical term for it, to do ministry.
Yeah, agreed.
Pastors are not the professional ministries or the professional ministry doers. Pastors are the professional ministry equippers.
Yeah.
Ephesians chapter 4. That's literally the whole idea.
Yeah.
And so as we are starting this church, you're exactly right. I hope we are decent at it of creating a culture where, you can come and I hope we have decent music. I hope we have decent preaching. I mean, I think we're going to have pretty fantastic preaching, but
let's go.
That's just me. No, I'm totally joking. I jokingly said the other day to somebody, they were talking about Acts, and I said, listen, I think Cameron's one of the best preachers around. And they said, well, save for you. I'm like, what do you think? I'm just going to be here like second only to me, Pastor Cameron is going to... Anyway.
He's like the second best communicator in this community. I don't say out loud who number one is.
I've got this whole ranking.
It's like second. This is the top 3 for sure. I don't know.
But that's my goal. Is I really want our church to become a place where not only can you come and hear about Jesus, because that is absolutely vital, but that you can connect to the mission of God to go do it.
Agreed. I think the correct way to approach a church that I've told people when they're like moving around or different stuff, because we have a lot of people who move around. I tell them like, what you need to find is, I feel like you need to find a teacher, like a Bible teacher, who you do believe could be your spiritual authority. Like, because that's actually one of the blessings of a local community, is that you trust somebody enough that you're like, I think that person won't lead me astray.
Yeah.
Okay? Number 1. Number 2 is exactly correct. Then, is that place also a place where you can apply your gifts to be able to use them and serve?
Yeah.
Because to me, that is the healthy loop that a lot of people don't go through. It's like you said, it's like the music is good, the coffee good, this, you're like, yes, but like, first of all, like, do you actually like believe that guy is like following the Lord and you trust to follow after him? Because like, I know we follow Jesus, but I do believe like that part where like Paul's like, follow me as I follow the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the fleshing out of your faith is hard. So like someone to watch and like follow along is really a blessing. And then like 2 is like, right, is there even opportunity to be like, I can use my gifts and I can serve in this place. I feel like I'm being pulled towards mission.
Well, and what's fascinating, this is what I've explained to a number of people. And maybe I can get some flack for this. I understand where this might be a little bit, I don't want to use the word abrasive.
I'm abrasive.
Your hands are certainly abrasive. I'm joking. In every church I've ever been a part of, we ask people to serve, to volunteer on teams, right? In some way, shape, or form. And that's good. We do that for multiple reasons. One, the church can't run with just the pastor doing it.
Sure.
It's just physically impossible. I cannot hold the babies in the nursery and play the guitar and preach the gospel and run the lights and all the things.
Yep.
So we need people to do it. That's not why we ask you to serve, though. We ask you to serve because in serving, you are giving up yourself for the sake of the mission, for the sake of the kingdom. In doing that, other people have the opportunity to hear the gospel presented.
Yes.
Here's my biggest thing, though. In, what's the passage? I want to say it's, oh gosh, I'm the best pastor there is. I don't know the scripture. I want to say it's Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10.
I have to Google constantly.
Well, good. I believe it's Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. For you are God's handiwork. For you are a masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do the good works that he created in advance for you to do.
Yes, Ephesians 2:10, because it's the response to the fact that everything is by grace. Right. You've been saved through faith.
Right. So we've been saved by grace. Correct. And the response to that is that you have been given works to do in advance. And so the way I read that is that it is entirely likely that God has given each of us as individuals certain things in life to do. Yep. What I'm not saying is, there's a whole bunny trail that we could go down with that. What I am saying is this, and this is what I've told some people on our launch team. Do we really believe, and this is, I guess I would challenge any pastor this, do we really believe that for the person in our church that we're asking to join teams, that all that God has for their life is to be a greeter on Sunday mornings?
Right.
There's got to be more than that.
Correct.
I'm firmly in the camp of belief that Jesus wants more for your life than holding babies in the nursery. For sure. Now, that's not to say that that's not good. There is a woman in your church that is in the nursery that I am a firm believer. That is her mission on the earth.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think you know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
There are musicians in your church that I'm a firm believer that is their mission in the world. Yeah. That's not to say that they have nothing else that they can do. Correct. But for the average person, there's got to be more. Yep. And so one of the things that I want to accomplish with the well, you ask the question, how? I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Yeah. One of the things I want to accomplish is what is that thing for you that is your passion in life? Yes. Let's say, for example, you love, Cameron, you love cooking. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's you, but let's say that's you. Cooking is your passion. It brings you joy.
It would have to be burgers on the Blackstone. That's the only thing I'm good at.
I'm there for you.
That's the only thing I'm good at making.
I have learned, I do love cooking, but I've learned that I don't actually love cooking. I love the result of cooking. I get to eat.
Yeah.
And so, you know the concept of girl dinner?
Girl dinner, yes.
Girl dinner. When the husband's gone, you just eat a couple walnuts and a cheese stick, and you're good to go. I don't understand that. There's just no protein. Yeah. Then they say there's boy dinner, and I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I know what Trevor dinner is. When I'm alone, I will cook like a 5-course meal and enjoy every minute of it because I know the result is just delectable. Anyway, this has nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Fair. If my passion was cooking.
If your passion was cooking, my hope as a pastor is to create a church where we can sit down with you and figure out, okay, cooking is your passion. We believe that God has given you this desire and passion in your heart. Where does that intersect with the mission of God?
For sure.
And I think it's very clear. One very simple and easy way of thinking is God wants us to feed the hungry, period.
Sure.
So how can we connect you with some organization to do that? What I'm not saying is that we will create a ministry for every single person in our church to do that. Yep. But what would it look like for us to be a sending organization where we send you to the PADS shelter to go cook for them? For sure. Or any number of other things where you are serving the mission of God, not necessarily in our church. Yes. Which is a harder way to run church because now suddenly you're too busy to hold babies in the nursery or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm just convinced that's what a lot of people are missing in
Well, to be honest with you, most of the people, though, who end up doing that, the majority of them still serve in their local church because what I've found is it's always like you want something done, ask a busy person. Yes. That's the wild part is I think that serving in the local church is the easiest first step. Like I'll talk about that sometimes with groups where I'm like, do you have to attend to a group? No, but you do have to be in community with other believers. Right. And groups are just the easiest way to do that. No, you could spend every Sunday walking around starting 30 different cold conversations with people, hoping that 3 of those cold conversations turn into something decent. So then you could schedule those 3 people to come over to your house, have dinner, and realize that 2 of them are weird and don't get along with, and 1 of them you do. And then you could go to X-Men and you could sit at a handful of different tables and meet a bro and be like, I like this guy. Right. And it's like, it really is like, that's exactly it. And I think the same with serving. The serving part isn't really like the end all be all, but it's such an easy next step if you're like, did you know that we're supposed to be in community and we're actually supposed to serve each other and that we're supposed to like use our skills, talents, abilities to bless not only the other fellow believer, but the unbeliever? And you're like, right. You're like, so really easy next step because most people then go, how the heck do I do that? Yeah. And you go like, well, an easy next step is like you could come and you could serve your fellow people at church and the people who were reaching here. And I think that's that through line to get connected. But okay, all of that came off the fact that we were still talking about planting Acts Church.
We got all the way
to swing
there.
all the way back around, yes, to where we were at with that. We get around to the fact that the summer before we plant, we start hosting gatherings in a local park.
I'm just remembering how the conversation got there.
I know,
Sorry.
isn't that wild? We literally hosted gatherings in a local park for the 13 weeks leading up to our launch. Crazy story. We had set everything up to have our initial launch at the Stage 212 building.
Okay.
That was going to be our first location. Had worked out all the details. In the 2 weeks leading up to it, people on their board lost their ever-loving mind that this church was going to be using their facility. But the person who was in charge of the facilities set it all up. They were supposed to make money with the facility when it wasn't being used.
It was just good business.
Easy business, yeah. Like you're going to pay us hundreds of dollars on a Sunday morning when no one else wants it. Yeah. But like huge chaos. Then like all the way down to the last week, like literally having then like friends of those friends like bombarding our social media saying like you have no right to be at Stage 212, like all these different things. It was insane. We changed the location of our launch the week of the launch.
That's a nightmare.
Yes. Moved back to where we had had our interest meetings. So we had 2 different interest meetings at the Knights of Columbus in LaSalle. Okay. So we literally moved our location. We sent people down who stood in front of Stage 2
you have to.
with spray painted signs that said like literally like Acts Church at Knights at like Casey Hall, like with arrows, and like had people like.
Thankfully, it's not too far away.
No, it was like 3 blocks. Thank the Lord.
It's not across town.
No, yes, in a different town or something. But, and then like. That was when we actually hosted, like, it was the fall of 2010 was when we actually had, like, our first gathering that we got together, which is so fascinating because that was literally, it was July of 2009 to September of 2010 that we were in that season of planting. Had that very first gathering, which is really cool. Some other, like that church that sent us came over, participated in one of those different interest meetings. I think a few of them were there. And that's where we started. In that facility, renting that out, it was $300 a week to rent that facility.
That's nothing. Well, in 2010, that might be a little more.
$300 a week to rent the facility, but our entire yearly budget, the first year was $39,000.
Okay, that puts it in context.
Yes. So the year before, we had raised $39,000. So it's going to be $15,000 for the year to be able to do that.
Like, you say the year before you would raise $39,000. That just like set aside an account waiting for the first year. So that was the
we
budget?
Already spent a bunch of it to have on.
That's what I would assume.
And the events and different stuff.
Because the reason I ask is we have raised at this point $135,000.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we have $135,000 in the bank.
No. No. We got to 2011. 2011. And that year, like I know the whole total budget because I remember that year specifically because we had started the year, didn't have much money. That whole year, I think we raised $50,000 in 2011. The very first thing we did was before we got to Easter, we spent $10,000 on an event. It was insane.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, like all the money we had in our bank, like just like it was insane. We did this giant thing called Easter Mega Drop, which was like a gigantic chaos fest. It was terrifically bad press, but there's no such thing as bad press because everyone heard our name at that time, which was really fun. But I mean, that was the beginnings of it. It was that we met at a Knights of Columbus, like which I was joking on telling you, like literally like set up. We would show up on the Sunday mornings. We would haul everything in. We would set up a kids area where we had pipe and drape. We would move kegs out of the area for the Knights of Columbus to be able to have our kids facility.
Into the sanctuary to serve. And
yes, exactly. No, the sanctuary had a full bar in the back.
Nice.
Yes, literally a full bar. I was like, is this, you can literally look back and see the full bars in there. It was so insane. But like, yeah, like literally started just like that. My first message in 2010, my very first message was on our key mantra, which is love God and love everyone.
Yeah.
So my message was about you know those like those machines where like one thing knocks into another thing, like where like it like triggers like another step. Like
Rube Goldberg machine? Yeah.
Yeah. I like showed one of those and was like talking about like the complexity of that and how like we think that that's like impressive. Like it is impressive, but like truly like what's impressive isn't making something more complex, it's making it simpler.
Sure.
Like accomplishing a task, like that's fun to watch because it's novel, but like it's completely unreasonable. None of you would want that in your house to like brush your teeth. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, have you ever seen that guy that creates those in order to eat?
Yes.
And they like, my favorite one is like he has a salad and that with a leaf blower that just blows it into his mouth.
Yes. You're like, it's so novel, but it's also like no one would want to function that way. And I just thought about how the fact like that was like one of the things that was always key to us is we loved so much that Jesus ended up taking where he said all of the law and the prophets hang on these two things.
Yeah.
Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength. Love your neighbors yourself. And I was like, just the idea that he said like, love God and then love everyone. And he's like, and if you actually made that like what's behind all your actions, he's like, you would walk in the right direction. And just trying to pull that back for us as a church, that's where we like started that, is saying like, how can we make faith like continue to try to keep it that simple? Like, don't add complexity to it. That doesn't need to be there. Like, try to keep it as simple. And that's been, over the last 16 years now, saying no to like 10,000 different things because you're like, we don't want to add a complexity to this. Like, how can we do it in a way that seems simple? But anyways, that was our whole thing. And what's fascinating is we didn't have like a foundation behind us. So ours was just like, it was crazy, just like, just guessing, man, at stuff. And the Lord just being faithful along the way, because so much of it was just like a guess. I mean, we read good books, we read Simple Church, and we listened to good like practices. But then so many of them we like still honestly like didn't follow. Like obviously, like I think we've talked about the fact like a lot of the church planting world now is like, it's like a large church launch strategy is very, very similar of like, we want you to build all the way to this point and then launch. And for us, when we launched, I think our average attendance was 60 people. Yeah. That was where we launched at. And in our area, the funny part is, of course, in our area, at 60 people are like, oh, it's like a full church. Like,
it's an average size.
Right. Yeah. So maybe that's kind of the difference with that. But also, it's so good because, I mean, if you guys launched and you had 250 people show up, dude, I'd be happy for you. Yeah. Okay? I'd be stoked. At the same time, okay? It was really nice starting at about 60 people.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Because it let me find that groove and then grow through it. Of like, I literally could on a Sunday morning, I could walk around and talk to about everybody who was there. Right. And I got to start those relationships. And a pastor church like that. And then build those. Yeah. And then like, as it grew, it was like...
Can't do it anymore.
No. Yeah. And I liked that I got to experience all those different stages. So... if you guys launch at 1,000, that's awesome. But also,
is it?
I'd rather like whatever the timeline is. I'd rather every church get to at least just get to experience walking through those seasons. Right. Because to me, like that's the beauty of it, is getting to do that. Yeah. Like I feel like you would lose something if you planted a church and it started at 500 people, where it's like, okay, like we can do this, but you kind of lost out on the opportunity to walk through like what those growth dynamics feel like.
Andy Stanley, for example, I believe his first Sunday was 700 people, something like that. Sure. I've in maybe not so much in recent years, but throughout my ministry have listened to podcasts of Andy Stanley's and this and that, and I've realized a lot of his advice works for big churches. Mm-hmm. Sure. But not for mid-size, not for small. Right. Because he's never experienced that. Mm-hmm. His dad's church was, 1,000 plus, something like that. His first Sunday was 700. Yeah. Quickly grown way past that. He's never seen it. Yes. And that's one thing that I've been thankful for. And I really think God has built this in me in the last number of years. Something that I never dwelled on in the past is I started ministry as a youth pastor at a church of about 250 people. Mm-hmm. During that time, our pastor sent me to a class retreat kind of thing that was all about missional multiplication. I didn't even know what that word meant at the time, but it's the idea of making disciples, not just addition of, hey, I'm bringing you to church, but making disciples that make disciples that make disciples of multiplication.
Yeah.
And in the church world, multiplication means many different things. It means discipleship, it means evangelism, but it also means church planting. And so at this training, church planting was a very small part of it. But I remember feeling a tug. And this was probably 2018 or so, number of years ago. I remember feeling this tug, and I came home and I told my wife, this was a thing, but literally have not mentioned or thought about it
Interesting.
since then. From there, I went to a very, very small church, and I say very small because people say small church and they mean like less than 150.
Right.
We had, our lowest Sunday was 6 people, our highest Sunday was 42.
Yes. Small.
in the span of like 3.5 years. Yes, very, very small. I was bivocational, the whole thing. And then coming here to Peru, I was a part of a large multi-site. So throughout my ministry career, I've been able to see the mid-size, the small, and the large. And I realize now, I think what God was doing, whether strategic or just in his brilliance, was showing me what each stage of ministry is like. Yeah. Now, you're right. Maybe we will start with 1,000 people. I doubt it, and I don't even know if I want to. I probably don't.
I don't think you do.
I don't.
I think you want to build something that actually...
Yes. But I also think just with the momentum that we have in the community, we already have 41 launch team members.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's not including their kids.
Yeah. We literally, like, even when we got to launch, I think our actual launch team never got above like 25.
Right.
Like, that's it.
I think we have the momentum already to start larger than 60, right? Which I'm thrilled and humble about. But I'm just, again, humbled by the fact that God has led me through this process to at least understand each of the phases. Not perfectly, right? I'm no genius. But I've been able to see in a mid-sized church what I really appreciated, liked, and disliked. And this is Trevor. This is not the best thing about the mid-sized church. This is Trevor's opinion on the mid-sized church. And small church, what I liked and appreciated and what I did not like and did not appreciate. And a big church, what I liked and appreciated and did not like and appreciate. What I'm hoping to do is kind of form those into what we create that's ideally a healthy mix of all of it.
Yeah.
But you know, what's difficult is some people really want a small church.
Yeah.
Some people really want a big church.
Yep.
You can't do both.
No.
You can attempt to feel both ways. But that's one of the things that's, I don't know if it's difficult for me to accept, but we are not going to be the church for everybody. As much as we want everybody, right? That was my answer to your first question. We want everybody. It's just simply not the case. And so
Correct.
As much as we might have this momentum in town and might be the next new thing, that's not to say anything negative about the churches that already exist in our community. Right. There's a number of them, many of them mid-size and or small. Those are great for the people that need and want that. And I don't know what we're going to end up. If we start small, great. If we start mid-size, great. If we start at 1,000, please help. Right? Like I'm not sure that I want that, but and my wife has even mentioned that. What do we, as the pastoral couple, feel equipped to lead? Yeah. And of course, I'm the one working at the church, but she's right there with me. And you would probably agree that Amy is right there with you in every step of the way. Do we feel equipped to lead a quote-unquote large church? Yeah. And is that what we want for our family? Questions that I don't even know. I don't even begin to have answers to those questions, but things that have certainly been thoughts on my head.
The interesting part with us as a church, even when we planted, I always knew it was going to be big.
Really?
Yeah, it was weird.
Just, it was always in your head?
Always in my head.
Yeah.
Like, because I remember at the time when we were planting, really soon afterwards, there was another, like, community that started, like, wanted to plant a church in our area. And all of their marketing was around being a small church. And I just told them, I was like, is that really what you want, though? Because I was like, your vision is self-defeating.
Right. If you succeed, you fail.
You fail.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you fail, You still fail.
You still fail. That's what I was trying to say to him. Like, so you're only interested in bringing people who want to come to a small church, but I'm like, right, as soon as that changes, then I'm like, it changes that dynamic.
And define small. Small can mean 30,
sure.
small can mean 150.
For sure. Yeah. But that whole concept though too, like I always
not in this
rejected
area.
that part. Yeah. I always rejected that part anyway too, because like I have a differing opinion to some extent of that where this is where I get to be abrasive. I think the majority of people who say they want to be in a church where they know everyone's name, what they actually mean to say is I want to be in a church where everyone knows my name.
Oh. Can I put it a little more pastorally?
Sure. I'm not a good pastor. I already said that.
Everybody wants to be in a church where they are known.
Yes.
I hear what you're saying.
Right. But what I'm saying is...
Just put the pastoral bent on it.
I think most of the time it doesn't come from a healthy place.
Sure. Oh, I agree with that.
Very often I think it comes from an unhealthy place.
I have pushed back on that in that small church. I talked about that we want to grow. And again, we were 30. When I talked about growth, I meant to 40.
Sure.
Like not large.
Sure.
And I got pushback on that. And I had to push back again and say, that's more about you than it is the kingdom.
Right, because like when you say that, like for the people who want that specifically, it's like you can tell, like, is that really what's in your heart? Because like, are you the person who's pursuing deep relationships with everyone inside the church? Are you this? Or is it just like you want to be, like you want your own little like self-reinforcing club.
Sure.
One of the things I think I told you early on, like one of the dangers of planting a church, we faced it early on, right? Is people will leave larger organizations to come to smaller organizations because they get to be big fish in little ponds instead of little fish in big ponds. Even though actually like what they're doing is the same thing. Right. It's like, well, now I'm going to do this. But it's because the scary part is like very often what motivates us is our pride.
Yeah.
Because, you know, somebody in one church might go, if I don't show up, they don't need me. But I come to Trevor Church, he needs me. If I don't show up, it's a wreck if I'm not there, right? And that's such a dangerous place to be where it's like, again,
this place would fall apart without me.
Yeah, it isn't about you. We did that in 2019. I think I told you, 2019, hardest year of my ministry ever. 2019, I had, in 12 months' time, I had 90% of my leadership either had to quit or be removed in 1 year. Some people who left because of jobs and changes, because most all the people who are in leadership for our church have always been volunteer positions. They're not paid people. So
which has always been fascinating about your church.
Yes.
Your church runs differently than any other church of your size that I've seen.
We are a very strange breed in regards to that. Yes, for sure. So people, job changes, hey, we're moving, you know, this type of situation. People who felt like their season was over and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I did it for a season, but I feel like this is over. All the way through to the fact of like literally having to remove people from ministry, which was the most horrific thing to have to do. But what I mean to say is like, I remember I finished that year and like, as bad as it sounds, like I remember we sat down for like our Christmas dinner and like we shared everything that had happened in our church. But like, I just like shared with our team. I was like, I just want us to be really clear. None of us are irreplaceable. Like if you ever get to the place where you think like, if I left like this whole place, I'm like, you're wrong. We just did it. Everyone left.
And the kingdom is better for it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was like, even me, I'm like, if I leave, the Lord will provide the right next step for this because we're not creating something. We're following a move of God. We're walking with him in regards to this. And it's like, that's the part where we do that, where we take it off of like, it's all on me or this to be like, I'm excited that I get to be a part of this. Like that's actually, of course, what my prayer would be for you guys, like for you as a couple, for you and Jen, and then all the people who would come along is like, we're not doing this because we have to. Like this is something awesome that the Lord's doing and we want to follow him to do what he's doing, right? Like he's doing this move and we want to be part of it. Even when we planted X, the reason why I think I say like, I knew it was going to be big, it wasn't because I thought we were going to create something big. It was because in my heart, I always saw there's this whole group of people who are waiting for a church like this.
Sure.
And what I don't mean is like, we're going to do this. What I mean is like, the Lord needs to have us here so we can receive this. Like we're catching we're catching and receiving what the Lord is doing, and then we're the place where they get to land because, strangely, by like our Christian faith is specifically communal in regards to the fact that it's like a place where then you get to find your community to be a part of.
Right.
And I think that was it, because like when I go back all the way to 2010 and we walked through this area and we prayed over this area, it was like we could feel the Lord was like wanting to do something in this area.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're willing to put our hand to the plow and like be part of what he's doing. And that's, of course, my prayer for you guys, too.
Well, it's interesting that when you put it that way of like, I always knew that we would be big because of this. I do feel something similar. Not in that I've always desired a big church. Sure. Not in that way. But in the sense of we are joining with what God is doing here. Like I said, I didn't form this vision. I truly feel like I received the vision for this church, of the church for the de-church, the church for the people who feel left behind by church.
Yeah.
And in this area, more than others that I've lived in, I feel like it's very common. And I've become unintentionally fairly well known in town as the guy on Facebook all over the place, right?
It's a Facebook guy.
I've literally had people stop me and say, "You're that guy all over my Facebook."
That's right.
And here's the thing. In doing that, I have had more people reach out and say, "Let's have a conversation," that I would never anticipate. In the last 10 years of ministry, and I had a post on Facebook last week about this. I'll just kind of briefly re-explain that post. In the last 10 years of ministry, the vast majority of the people that I've pastored have looked a lot like me. Let alone the racial, socioeconomic stuff. That's true. White, middle class has pretty much been the lane of churches that I've been a part of.
Sure.
But relatively clean and put together, relatively productive members of society. The vast majority of the people that are pastored have looked the same. Sure, there's been the outliers of, the one or two homeless people that are connected to this church here, or this person that is the addict of the congregation. And I mean, the singular addict of the congregation. In the last 2-3 months of running these Facebook ads where I've been just inviting people to coffee, in the last 2-3 months, I have had more conversations with broken people, with people who are registered sex offenders looking to find Jesus, people who are addicts looking to find Jesus, people who feel like the church has completely abandoned them and they want nothing to do with it, but are interested in what I have to say. I've had more conversations with people that I would have never, ever encountered in my past in the last 2 months than I have in 10 years. So God is on the move to do something in the lives of this broad group of people. And like you said, it's not that I want a large church, but I feel like in a way we need to be here because God's doing something. And if we are not here, what's going to happen with these people?
Totally.
Are they going to be able to land in a place, like you said, to have this communal place to get together to not only worship, but to learn? One of my favorite stories, and of course I'll keep the name to myself, is a woman that I met with who was like, I was just fascinated by what you had to say on that Facebook ad, and I don't know Jesus, but I want to be a Christian, and I believe that there's a God out there, but like, who's Jesus? And that's always been like what's the word I'm looking for? A rhetorical question. Well, who's Jesus? I was like, well, what do you mean by that question? She says, who is Jesus? Like she was actually asking.
This is a practical question.
For the vast majority of my ministry, I have met with people who know basics of the Bible. This woman knew next to nothing. What a privilege to be able to walk her through the beginning stages of discipleship. And it was really funny.
It's the best.
She said, how do you become a Christian? I was like, oh, okay, well, let's get the theology hat on. How you become a Christian is we believe that it is by grace through faith. So the most simple answer is you believe in Jesus. She's like, okay, what do you mean, just pray? I mean, yes. Like,
I need to create practical steps of this.
right, exactly. She's like,
good.
And I realized I had a decision to make in that moment. I could lead this woman through what is commonly known as the sinner's prayer, right? And we can pray that she accepts Jesus as her Lord and Savior and this and that. But she would, if we did that, she would have left that meeting saying, now what? Because she was really looking for practically, how do I do this?
Yes.
We, I think, so often want to spiritualize things so much to say, like, because we prayed, Jesus is in your heart. This is good. And she'd be like, huh?
Right.
And so what we did is we started for our launch team. I said to this woman, you really just need knowledge of who Jesus is. So let's just open our Bible together.
Yeah.
And let's do this. So we started a Bible study that once a week our team gets together at my house and we just talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
Like it really is that simple. And
So good.
it was so funny because that was pretty far into the process of planting this church. And like my mind was blown at this. But it's the simplest thing.
Yeah.
She just needed to know who Jesus was.
Yep.
And what I found was interesting is, and again, this is a little bit abrasive, this was a woman who had a lot of faith, actually. She said, I believe that there is something there. I believe that God exists. But I want to believe in Jesus, but I just don't know anything about it. She had a lot of faith, but very little knowledge.
Yeah.
And what I realized is, and this is the abrasive part, she's probably the opposite of a lot of people I pastor.
Totally.
Who have a lot of knowledge, but actually very little faith. And I realize now I would much rather have a church full of women, people like her.
100%.
And it's been fascinating. Her and I are in conversation all the time. These Bible studies are fantastic, and it's been very fun. I was sharing her story with somebody else that reached out to get coffee, and I'm just going to spoil everything, but that's okay. There's another woman that came, and she said her story is not exactly the same, but somewhat similar. She said, can I get baptized? And so our first service is going to be a baptism service.
Let's go.
So exciting.
That's awesome.
And I realize now, not only are we going to baptize this woman, let's open it up and see who else wants to be baptized. I haven't yet begun to ask that question to not only our team, but to other people, but how cool. Like, that wasn't the plan.
Yeah,
that was this woman realizing that Jesus is doing something in her life, not because of this church coming, but because of what he was doing. And our church coming at this time intersected with her life in such a way that she said, I just need to respond.
Yeah.
And baptism is the response.
It's so good.
She didn't say it like that, of course, but
yeah.
I just feel it's like such a privilege to be able to be here, all because, frankly, the financial stress-induced spiral that led to us clicking on... the way my wife found this job listing was pastor jobs near me on Google. And here we are, ready to baptize a woman and teaching people about Jesus for the first time in their lives. And this is not a young woman necessarily. Yeah, for the first time in her life, she's never understood who Jesus is.
When we were planning our church, we took our first weekend off. So our church routinely takes weekends that we don't host services. Every single year we get hate mail for it. Every single year.
I was wondering if you did.
Oh man, so crazy. We got hate mail the first year we did it when we were launching as a church plant because one of the people who was with us, their foster mom freaked out on us. Anyways, but it was so funny because...
You're not bitter about it still, are you?
No, she's a saint. Actually, she's in heaven already. I'm certain about it. She's a great woman. She just very religious at times, but I do believe she loved the Lord.
Of course.
At the same time, it was so funny because we took our first Sunday where we said we had done all this. We did this whole loop of going to all these different churches, and what we had is like we basically had one Sunday out of like a perfect circle of like doing, I forget if it was 16 or 24 or whatever it was, and there was one that like we didn't need to do anymore. So I was like, we're just going to take the weekend off. Just go relax, go have fun, do this, whatever. And I said, but that evening I said, I'm just going to have like a bonfire at my house. If you guys want to come over, we can hang out or whatever, It's so cool because I get a phone call midway through the afternoon. They're like, can I bring someone? And I'm like, yeah, if you want to, go ahead. And the two girls, instead of coming and us having like, church together, gathering together that morning, they went out and they did all their morning shopping stuff. And when they were at like Walmart talking to this girl, they were saying about like, oh, like, it's weird because we never really come shopping on like Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And like the girl was like, oh yeah, like why not? And they're like, oh, because we're like, we go to church and like we're part of this church plant. And this girl's like, well, I want to be part of it.
Very cool.
And they're like, what? And she's like, well, I've like always wanted to know about like God and like church and stuff. So like they just started talking to her like in the Walmart, and then they ended up bringing her that evening. And yeah, that evening as we're sitting there by the fire, she was like asking me all those questions, and she literally asked me where she's like, can we like pray together then? Like, can we, like she, exactly, like where you're saying where the people are like wanting to like follow through, where they're like, this is what I've been looking for. And I remember that same exact feeling, like that was early on in our church plant where I was just like, this is why we're here.
Yes.
Like we're not here to run a church service. We're here because there is a significant portion of people that, sadly, a lot of other Christians or pastors don't even realize exist, that are desperately searching for faith, whether they even consciously know it or not.
Yeah.
And they need a place where they can get connected. And I wholeheartedly agree that it's like the people who we could write 90% of the same things down on a paper and say that's what our church is, and people will find a community at the Well, or they'll find a community at Acts, or find a community at, and we could list a whole bunch of other churches in our area, and you're like, right. And that's what's so beautiful about it. Like that's why since the beginning, like when you said this, I'm like, I'm really excited for you. And I know we joke around about sometimes with like being church planners, because now we're both church planners, of like sometimes where like pastors or Christians are like, why would we need one more church? And after you've done it and you've experienced that, you've already got a taste of it, where it's like you realize the why, and you're like, it's people. Like it's not about hosting another church service. Like it's about us creating another node on this system of faith in our community. The way I've said it, I think you've heard me say, is like, I want our church to continue to grow, but not so we can get a whole bunch of Christians in here. It's so we can get a whole bunch of Christians out there in our community.
Yeah,
I will boldface say, like, I want to break 1,000 people as a church. Why? Because I want 1,000 people out in our community sharing their faith with people. Like, I want to get to the place where in the Illinois Valley, you can't live here without bumping into those weird Jesus people who are telling you about their faith, and they're not like preaching at you, but they're just sharing how this is the most amazing part of their life.
Yes.
The reason why their families are doing okay and their kids, like, and it's because of my faith. Like, I will just, of course, be like, yeah, dude, we need like way more big, strong churches like that, saturating this community of the Illinois Valley, where people are just like, there's all these Jesus loving people.
It's not about the bigness. It's not about the number. It's about the people those numbers represent.
100%.
And my wife and I have asked the question, what happens if we get to 1,000 people?
Yep.
And I don't know what that number is, but let's just say 1,000.
Yeah.
Do we go the route of, this is so funny to think of, a mega church in Peru? Right?
Heck yeah.
But do we go the route of building a massive sanctuary or of whatever it is to gather all these people in one place? And there's a couple different ways to do it. There is the mega church where you just have one massive building. There is the multi-site model where you have campuses. But then I think what our heart is, purely based off of the experience of planting, is let's send a bunch of people to plant a church.
Yeah, raise church planners.
Right. Whether that is another one across town or in a completely different place, what would it look like for us to become a church of 1,000 people and then say we're intentionally going to go back to a church of 600 people and send 400 to go start 1 or 2 or 3 other congregations or whatever that looks like, right? I don't know all the details, because I've seen now, and this is really where it comes back to for me. For 10 years, I pastored these churches, and I can count on one hand the number of conversations I've had with brand new Christians in 10 years.
This shouldn't be the case.
That shouldn't be the case, right? And that, I don't think that means that it's necessarily a bad pastor, a bad church, anything like that. But I can tell you how many of those conversations I've had in the last week. On 2 hands, right? Like that's incredible.
But that's the part where it's like keeping that vision. The man who pastored at the largest church in this area moved to another large church in Chicago. Church is giant, been big for a long time. but bold enough to look at the numbers of the church, and after the first 6 months, sit down with the board and say, we have to fix this church. And the board was like, what? He goes, yeah, we got to fix this. And they're like, we have thousands of people. And he pulled up the graph and showed the graph going like this, and then just getting flat.
Yeah.
And he said, big doesn't mean healthy. Big doesn't mean like
good for him
following the mission.
Yeah.
And it was so good because he could reframe in his mind that it's like, it doesn't matter. If all we have is we have the same people having kids, raising kids, like, I get, but he's like, the goal is reaching those who are lost in our community. And he's like, it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people here. Like, we still need to look outward. The way I used to joke around when I would talk about our church and being outward focused is I used to jokingly say, I was like, in this area of like these 5 towns, there's about 35,000 people here. And I was like, and if our church ended up getting to about 34,999 people, I was like, we'd all gather together. And I said, and I would say to you all, our mission is clear. Tom still isn't here.
Right. Yeah.
So this next week, yes, exactly. Like, we need to pray that Tom would come to the Lord. Like, we need to go and we need to serve him and love him. Like, because even if you had 99, like, the Lord is disproportionately always concerned with the one who's lost. And like us having that heart that goes like, there's someone not here.
Yes.
I had that a handful of years ago. It was such a great experience. We had a big weekend at our Easter and like just tons of people showing up, and it was crazy. But it was really fascinating because I went to drive away, and as I drove through town, what struck me instead is I felt like this like thought from the Lord was like, how many thousands didn't this weekend? And it was like just this amazing reset of it's like, like we hit this number, and you're like, thousands of people in this area woke up and had no more hope this morning than yesterday. And like, it just reaffirming that burden of like what it is, which that's what it is. It's like the most beautiful burden ever is like pastoring a church and like planning a church, right? Like this area needs more faith. When our mantra of making Jesus famous, I remember like month 1 of that, of someone being like, isn't that a little arrogant to think that you want to make Jesus more famous? And I was like, what? And they're like, I mean, it's Jesus. He's as famous as they come. And I was like, he's not that famous in the Illinois Valley.
He may be well known, but he's not always well liked.
No, so I mean, not famous. Like, not like where people like look up to and aspire him. Like, just because people know his name does not mean
you know Marilyn Manson's name and you know Taylor Swift's name. You probably like one better, right?
For sure. Yeah, Marilyn Manson.
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Marilyn Manson?
I think, wasn't that a serial killer? No, not
Charles Manson.
Charles Manson. You know what I'm saying?
Marilyn Manson was a performer.
That's right. Yeah, different person.
Those were the ones that we were not allowed to listen to when we were kids.
Right.
Like, whatever you do, don't listen to that. That's the one.
Yeah.
All right. So, last question. Okay. We are 2 months?
Just about 2 months. September 20th, and it is currently the 16th.
Amazing.
2 months and 4 days.
Launch. What is on your mind right now?
The biggest thing that I'm working on right now is you mentioned the term scaffolding before.
Yeah.
When I think scaffolding, I don't think people, I think more systems.
Yes.
So like, this is the example that I've had with some people. Kids ministry. We want to have one. Mm-hmm. The worst case scenario is we get there on September 20th, someone comes to drop off their kid, and we say, oh, right, how do we do that? Right. We need to figure out how. And so we're getting together with our team and the leaders and saying basic questions. What happens when a kid misbehaves? Like, we need to decide the answer to that question. Does that mean we spank them? Like, the answer is no.
Thank the Lord.
But someone needs to decide at some point, what are our policies? It's the really boring work of ministry, but the incredibly important work. To create the culture that we want to create, we need good systems.
Yep.
So I'm splitting my time, not even evenly. Something I am struggling with is splitting my time between building systems and meeting people. What I'm finding is I'm spending so much time with people that it's becoming difficult to create these systems.
Yeah.
But that's where I need to begin to shift. But I just want to be with all the people, right? Yeah. But recently we've appointed a lot of leaders over ministries, and that has been really good. You mentioned before, I think you used the term just enough at just the right time. That's exactly how I feel right now. There's one more key ministry that we're still looking for a leader for. Other than that, we've just filled all of them, and which is a huge weight off my shoulders. But now is the work of meeting with those leaders to begin to build things, because I've intentionally not built systems to include other people in it. I had a leader yesterday ask me, when it comes to making decisions, how does that work at the church? And I jokingly said, I am king, right? I make all decisions. That's not at all the case, because that's not healthy.
Right.
But in particular, if, for example, kids, I don't want to decide what curriculum we'll use for kids on my own.
Sure.
I want to include that leader in it so that we can do this together, because this is not Trevor doing church. This is the Well Church serving our community. Whoever is that kids leader needs to own the ministry, particularly because I don't want to hold the babies in the nursery. But also, because if they're going to empower the volunteers to do this, they need to know and believe in what they're doing. So for every ministry, that's the big thing on my plate right now, is figuring out how and what we do for every ministry. And how does that make us distinct from other ministries? For example, I have a hospitality director. That's the term that we're using for greeting, for coffee. We'll very likely have a parking lot team. And I've brought up your church. This person has some experience at your church as well. And I've said, not how do we differentiate from Acts because we want to be different, but using Acts as the template because that's what we're familiar with. What are we going to do to help achieve our core values? Because that's the whole thing, is we want to show that our core values are not just some words on a wall, that they are truly who we are. Therefore, how we run our ministries has to be in line with these things. So that's the thing I'm working on right now. It's talking to the leaders and trying to figure out exactly how to make that work. On top of that, some of your people may have seen our recent post on Facebook that we are that close to signing a lease. Until I put pen on page, I don't know if I'm going to reveal anything just yet, but we're still that close. But yeah, those are the big things right now. Figuring out the how to the what. We know the what.
Any big blitz in the last month that you're doing before you plant, or launch?
I mean, we'll definitely do some more social media stuff. The people that are annoyed at seeing my face will probably get more annoyed.
The budget will just increase.
Maybe a little bit, right? Because, again, not because we want to be famous, but because we want Jesus to be famous. And as we start, we want people to hear this message of, this isn't a term that I've used a whole lot, but we want to redeem the idea of church in people's heads.
Yeah, for sure.
There are people in our community that hear church and want to throw up.
100%. I say it every year with Hope Week. If you've been part of it, I always say part of that vision is to change the way the word church tastes in their mouth. Yes, that's great. And this is where you and I slightly differ. One of your core values at Acts is, I don't remember how you put it, intentionally irreligious or whatever? Actively irreligious.
Actively irreligious, which means for these kind of religious seasons, Lent, Advent, you don't make a big deal about them. I don't want to necessarily make a big deal, but I do want to talk about them. Because for us, we are not, where we differ from you is what we want to do is redeem these things. I had a young girl tell me that Lent is something that she doesn't like because she grew up Catholic. And all she knew about Lent is that you don't eat meat. You gotta eat fish. You gotta eat fish on Fridays. That's all she knew. And there is so much beauty to the season of Lent.
That's cool.
That she had never been explained. Right. And so the way that we do church, in my head, my hope is to redeem these religious holidays, activities, whatever, not because they are the right way to do church, but because what we are trying to do is show you a different way. That is not about rules and regulations. That is about the beauty of Jesus and about the beauty of the mission of God in the world and what he's trying to do. Which is partially why I think it's great that we have two churches that might look similar. I think we probably might look similar to you guys. But we will operate differently. And there are certain people that are going to appreciate those differences. And certain ones that won't.
100%.
And a third group that is totally fine with many of the other churches in the community.
Yep.
Praise God.
Yeah, amen.
I don't remember what question you just asked.
Oh, just about the last steps, but I think that's really good.
Last steps. Yeah, I just kind of went on a
really
little bunny
good.
trail there.
Yeah, I think that's really good. It's an exciting season, and I'm really excited for obviously what's next for the well, and then just what's next for the Illinois Valley. Because obviously, like, I plan on, unless the Lord does something drastic, I plan on staying here and serving here until I'm dead. So I'm excited to see the fact of more opportunity just to saturate this area with the gospel, and I know that that's at the core of both of us, which is so exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.